I think Coach Fickle, Coach Tressel, the history, speaks for itself on the quality of defense that they've always had, the tremendous challenge that it'll be for us in a very hostile environment and a super proud program that has great tradition, great history, and great expectations. So it'll be a great challenge for our group, and looking forward to the opportunity. Fire away.
Thanks, Coach. Starting left side with Chase.
I think when you were in Indiana, you went to Wisconsin one time, I think at the end of the COVID year. Can you just speak to the what you just mentioned, the hostile atmosphere, the crowd noise, etc.?
Well, there's no fans at the game for that game.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I've been there a few times as a player too when I was a player, and so I just think it's a program that loves football. The fans are very passionate, and it's a tremendous environment to play and compete in. And that's a credit to their fan base and the pride that they have in that state for that program. And so it'll be a challenge for sure, and one we're excited for.
Let's go to the middle of the room, Emily Grace.
Coach, as far as Jalen's presence in the pocket, what do you see that's working, and where do you want to see growth headed into week 3?
Well, I think he did some nice things the other night as far as avoiding some rush and creating some plays, and I think there's other times where we're looking for him to try to get the ball out of his hands, when there's opportunities that present themselves that way. So, I don't think any two plays are the same. I think every situation, you're just continuing to try to teach and point out, opportunities to just stay away from some negative plays that way. And sometimes, there's not much the quarterback can do. But in the opportunities where we feel like maybe he could have made a different choice or decision, we just talk through that. Obviously these are split-second decisions, and he made a lot of great plays for us. And there's a couple where, hey, maybe if you got the ball out here, or you threw the ball here, or whatever it may be. So that happens every game, and I think he's been receptive to that, and acknowledges and recognizes each and every game opportunities for improvement. And I thought there was a lot of great moments for him, in that regard in the game as well.
Let's go to the left side, Steven.
Coach, obviously he has the speed, but when you watch Jim Miller run with the power and the passion that he does, what does that bring the team, especially on that explosive run last week?
Yeah, I think, Jam is just a tough kid, very competitive. He's not the tallest player, but he's, built, and he has power, and he has quickness, and he is a tough tackle. And so none of the things that have shown up in the first 2 games is a surprise to anybody in our building, because he does it each and every day in practice. And so he's a great kid, he's tough, he's competitive, extremely hard worker. We like Jam a lot.
Front right side, Nick.
Yeah, a lot of inconsistency going into the final quarter. But the final quarter, the last 6 minutes, some really good things that work. What can you replicate from those final 6 minutes that will help you going forward?
Well, I think just simple execution and fundamentals. I think obviously we all know that we had some issues with some penalties and some lapses in execution, and that certainly hurt us in the first 3 quarters of the game. And I thought the guys did a better job, of executing simple things well. And we were explosive in the game. We just had a lot of those called back, and so we need to just zero in on the details, the fundamentals, the execution. And there's a lot that goes into that, but I also think that's what ended up hurting us was when we didn't focus on the small things, on the details. We didn't play with good fundamentals and technique. We fouled, and we had penalties, and so I thought they did a better job of that. Obviously, of just executing simple plays well, and they were helpful.
Let's go to Mike in the middle here.
What'd you see from Wilkin on film, and just with the 3 holding penalties? Is there a teaching point, a coaching point in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in all those moments you're trying to just teach and help a player improve. I think Wilkin cares a whole bunch. Wants to be as good as he can possibly be, and I think in some of those moments it goes back to what we talked about, and it's not just specifically to him; it's for the whole group. If your fundamentals aren't right, if your eyes aren't in the right spot, you can get out of position, and I think that's what not just for him specifically, but our whole group. It goes back to footwork, eye discipline, simple things, to make sure that you're in the right position to make the play, the right way within the rules. And so that's what I would say to the whole group is just making sure that we're detailing the right details so that we can execute simple football well. And as we all know, those are, you're a foot off or an inch off or the wrong hand placement away from, not getting called for a penalty. And so that's what we're focusing on, not just with Wilkin, but with the whole group.
Go to the left side, sorry, Tony.
Yeah, what have you seen from Hunter Wooler first, and then second of all, how much can you lean on Coach Hitch just having the familiarity with that secondary, especially the safeties unit?
I have a ton of respect for him. I think he's a fantastic football player, and he's well coached. And I also think his instincts show up. Very productive. For him to have the number of tackles that he had a year ago is impressive. And I have a ton of respect for him as a football player. The way he plays the game, the way he competes. I think that's pretty evident and stands out on film. And then Coach Hitch, certainly there's things that you ask, as you can imagine, to try to just understand the scheme. What I would say is that, every year is different for each team. Every group of players is slightly different. Their group that they have this year, there's a lot of returners, specifically in the back end and the middle of their defense, but then there's some new pieces, and we'll be ready to adjust depending on how they decide to play us. So, but certainly, yeah, there's things that we're, talking to Coach Hitch about relative to, the way that they structure their defense or the calls or whatever that may be. So, yeah, he's a great sounding board that way, and he's helpful that way.
Stay on the left side, front row, Joe.
Coach, can you speak on the challenges that the shuffling up front gave to the offense, and then really what y'all did to overcome the shuffling, and how close was Elijah to starting in the game on Saturday?
Well, we don't make any excuses. The guys that are out there are starters, and their expectation is that they play well and execute and do their job. And so we don't look for that. We don't, allow anybody in the building to talk about, the shuffling. And I mean, the guys that are ready to practice, that's who we practice with, and we prepare them to execute and do their job. And if they're out there on the field, they're capable of doing it. And so that's really where our focus is. And as far as availability of players and what that looked like throughout the week, we decided to go with the group that had the most reps together. And moving forward, we'll do the same thing based on the health and availability of the group.
We've got 3 questions left, so we'll start here with Alex. Right up in the middle.
The explosive plays have obviously been there, which I'm sure you like. But the short to intermediate passing game, how would you like to see that kind of come along?
I think I think the down in and down out execution needs to improve, and that's really been a focus for the group because I think we all can see the explosiveness and the ability to score quickly, but I think us being able to stack plays consecutively together and execute and do your job down in and down out, not just specifically to the short and intermediate pass, but to in all areas. That's certainly a point of emphasis this week and moving forward that, we just stack good plays together, and the explosive plays will come in addition to that.
Trey down far left.
Hey, Coach. Can you just speak about what the offense, what's the offensive mindset this week heading in heading into Wisconsin after seeing all the just the small mistakes and stuff like that? What will be the mindset in practice this week?
Yeah, just as I mentioned, to make sure that we're detailing the right details and focus on execution. That's really been that'll be the focus this week, and excited about the opportunity to compete against a great opponent in a great environment, and looking forward to that challenge. And so that'll be the mindset.
All right, we're going to finish up with Katie.
What's going to be the emphasis on ball security after some of the fumbles in the first 2 games?
Well, and I know Coach mentioned this in the post game. We emphasize ball security each and every day in every drill, and we certainly have periods of practice where we're specifically drilling it. That won't change. It's not like we understand the importance of it. Our players understand the importance of it. The things that came up in the game can't happen, and our guys know that. We know that. So I wouldn't tell you that there'll be an extra emphasis because it's always emphasized at a high level. And so this week will be no different. And so we look to improve in that area.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Roll Tide.